I am not going to be cowed, and Judicial Watch is not going to be cowed by the totalitarian left who wants to use January 6th to scare everyone off. First up, though, is the January 6th shooting death of U.S. Air Force veteran and San Diego resident Ashli Babbitt, who infamously was shot in the U.S. Capitol, killed by, we don't know who yet, during the January 6th disturbance. Now, you've seen video of the shooting death, I'm sure, but you have no details beyond that, practically speaking, because there's a massive cover-up, which is slowly being unraveled thanks to your Judicial Watch's heavy lifting to get information about that shooting death. We sued the Office of Medical Examiner here in the District of Columbia and the Metropolitan Police Department, which is the local district police agency that we think and will obviously would have information about the shooting death. We received the first documents after months about the Ashli Babbitt shooting death from the Office of Medical Examiner. The police haven't given us anything yet. And the documents show, among other things, that the as I say, the the Office of Medical Examiner had sought the cremation of Miss Babbitt just 2 days after the body was obtained by the Office of Medical Examiner. So just think about this. So I'll get the details here for you. I'll read it directly. On January 8th, 2 days after she was killed at 7:13 p.m., an application to cremate the body of Babbitt is labeled, quote, completed successfully. Copies of the permit are sent to the OCME officials, 2 officials, as well as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other officials within the DC agency there. So what's unusual about this is, and I don't know if it was the medical examiner requesting the cremation on behalf of the Babbitt family. Was it a separate request? Why was it done so quickly after the shooting death? Had they completed the investigation? When did the cremation take place? I don't have any of the answers there. But we have questions as a result of the release of these documents. And what we do is we put the documents out there so the American people can draw their own conclusions and ask additional questions. And hopefully we get some additional answers there. But it's unusual, it looks to me, but we'll see what else comes out. What's also in these documents, these emails, and by the way, I think we got, how many emails did we get? Or how many pages of documents did we get? Oh, over 1,160 pages of documents. So we went through them carefully, and I encourage you to go through them. They're available on our internet site at judicialwatch.org. What I found also interesting about them is that the shooting, so when you bring someone like, when they're investigating the shooting death, you know, they have to have a conclusion about what happened, what was the cause of death and the manner of death. And on January 13th, Dr. Francisco Diaz emailed Chief Medical Examiner Deputy and / Deputy Mayor Roger Mitchell with the note 2100106, COD, gunshot wound to left anterior shoulder, MOD, homicide. And of course, COD is cause of death, which is obviously the gunshot, and the manner of death is homicide. So this was on January 13th. Then in February, there is a document showing that they at least had the preliminary toxicology report related to Miss Babbitt available. But when did they release the official cause of death and manner of her death? April 7th, 2021. So the question I have is, why the delay? And forgive me for being cynical, I think the delay was political. As I've described here before, maybe I was talking on Newsmax or on media this week, when there's a death that has political ramifications in the District of Columbia, and it's probably true for other cities as well, the investigation is almost always politicized and distorted. Politics always distorts the normal operations of government. And in a political death like Babbit and Officer Sicknick and the 3 others who died of natural causes, it turns out, the politics was to blame it all on President Trump and to impeach him for it. So the details of the deaths, that Babbit was killed by evidently an officer. We don't know who that officer was, or even if he was an officer, was he a supervisor? I don't know what he was. We don't have I know there's been names bandied about who it is. I mean, that name may be accurate. I'm not going to say it because I don't know it to be accurate. We wanted official confirmation as to who did it. So that information, they didn't want to come out. Also, that didn't come out because it would have hurt the narrative to impeach Trump and the other political narratives they had to attack everyone who had questions about the authenticity of Biden's win. Were the nature of the what happened to Officer Sicknick. Was he killed as a result of the riot, or was there something else? Well, evidently, they released this in April as well. Only after Judicial Watch sued, Sicknick died of natural causes. Of course, they knew that from the get-go. You can be sure. And the 3 others died of natural causes. So why the holdup in releasing the information? Was it political or not? The delay to me is explained by politics. And the fact is, we had to sue to get this information. The fact we're the only ones even asking for this information should tell you volumes about the political nature of this information and the politics behind the stonewalling. There are other emails in there that suggest the sensitivity of the investigation. They talk about sending fingerprints out. One of the emails, they sent the fingerprints out on the sensitive information evidently was a wrong one because they got a bounce back full of Chinese characters. I don't know what that means. Was it sent to China or something? I don't know. But that's the sort of information we're able to get as a result of our litigation. And again, this is information no American citizen would have access to, but for Judicial Watch. And of course, the other outrage is that there's no information about from the Metropolitan Police Department, certainly not from the Capitol Hill Police, about the circumstances of her death. We saw the shooting, but what was there an after action report? Was there an investigation? Supposedly the Justice Department investigated. What's other than a decision not to press charges against the shooter? Where's the report? Can you think of another example in a big city death investigation involving a police officer where the police officer's name, identity would be kept confidential for as long as it has in this case, like in this case? Look at the Derek Chauvin case, the George Floyd killer. And it shows you that politics is infecting the public's right to know, or impacting and suppressing and interfering with the public's right to know. And if Judicial Watch wasn't doing this lawsuit, we still wouldn't have this basic information about the cremation or the fact that they knew almost immediately the circumstances of Babbitt's death, and yet they withheld it from the American people. So this is all about politics. And of course, this is just one of several lawsuits that we have. We have a FOIA lawsuit against the District of Columbia for documents about the death of Brian Sicknick. And as I said, that lawsuit already, in my view, led to pressuring the Office of Medical Examiner to finally admit that Sicknick, was not killed by rioters, which is what the left kept on saying and still says. He died of natural causes. And we filed lawsuits for U.S. Capitol emails and video related to the riot. That's a federal lawsuit. I think their response to that is due as we speak. And for Speaker Nancy Pelosi's communications with the Pentagon in the days after the January 6th incident. So we want a whole host of information, sort of information that Congress in theory would be getting. Of course, Congress has to investigate itself because Congress is responsible for the security, namely Nancy Pelosi, of the Capitol complex. So her decision making is at issue, don't you think? Nancy Pelosi needs to be investigated for January 6th. Of course, that's not going to happen with her select committee, which is a one-party committee that literally one party. They're acting in a totalitarian fashion, a one-party investigation of their political opponents. That's what's going on here, while they're hiding documents from the American people. And all those videos that are being withheld, Justice Department has them, the Congress has them. Again, the most important day in American history, according to the left, worse than 9/11. And yet they're withholding virtually every important document there is to be had about it. How does that work? And it's not just Judicial Watch. There are American citizens in jail right now being denied access to video and other evidence related to their incarceration. Remember, they're not convicted. They're in jail based on representations to the courts made on the basis, it looks to me, of secret evidence, meaning the people don't have access to the evidence. Sometimes the defendants don't have access to the full evidence. So there's a rule of law crisis in Washington, D.C. that goes beyond the Judicial Watch having a fight in court for transparency. There are people who've lost their freedom because of this lack of transparency in part. So I don't know about you, but I am not going to be cowed, and Judicial Watch is not going to be cowed by the totalitarian left who wants to use January 6th to scare everyone off and to suppress their opposition. So we're going to keep on suing. We're going to keep on asking questions, filing more open records requests, and doing what we can under law for accountability. And similarly, we're not going to stop asking questions about the election. We're not going to stop promoting and educating Americans about the importance of election integrity and giving them more information about our election systems and seeking to enforce the rule of law that helps support election security, such as making sure the rolls are clean. We have 3 federal lawsuits now against Colorado, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina to make sure the rolls are clean. We're not stopping. We're not stopping. So as I said, all these Babbit documents, these Ashli Babbitt documents, again, these are the first documents released about the shooting death of Ashli Babbitt, were released thanks to Judicial Watch's lawsuit in a court. They're available on our internet site at judicialwatch.org, judicialwatch.org. So there's other interesting things there that you can look at and read yourself. But all I say is thank God for Judicial Watch. I say that as a citizen, not as a president.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.